It's a great evening, folks. It's a great evening. Here I've landed in the richest continent on our planet. No other continent is richer than the continent of Africa. The very African continent and the nations of this land, the African land, is so rich. It's diverse with life. It's diverse with wildlife. But today, we managed to somehow destroy all of that wildlife. Yet, I must say, when I said it's the richest continent on earth, I mean it's rich and it's God's, or the God. When I say God, it is the gold, it is the oil, and it is the diamonds that has made this continent the richest continent on earth. Yet, every single day, the 65 nations of this country is struggling to feed their population. Every nation, their leadership is constantly... Good evening, gentlemen. Every single nation on this continent has been war-ravaged. It's been destroyed by the foreign hands involved in it, missionaries to all sorts, and it's a scary prospect to find out that. Good evening to you, sir. How are you? Very good. So yes, good evening, madam. How are you? So that's what I'm saying. How can this continent, being the richest in minerals and resources, be so poor? And they're constantly walking around the planet with a begging bowl. And compared to any other continent, every other continent has got their hands in this continent only to take and take and take and take and take, leaving absolutely nothing for these most wonderful of people who we have ignored, neglected, and left to fend for themselves for centuries. First came the explorers, followed by the exploiters. Then they ruled it, and they ruined it, and they gave their idea of corrupt ideas, and then left with missionaries, NGOs, so-called, other titled individuals who turned up on this land and further fouled it to an extent that it's become so messed up, so fragmented, so unfortunately neglected. When a new, fantastic nation who's trying to rebuild for what has been done for 2 centuries or 3 centuries or 4 centuries, in building infrastructure, in building schools, hospitals, facilities that required by people of the land, the so-called the superior nations are questioning of their presence on the island. Good evening. Good evening to you. Hello. Presence on this land. No, they're not here to, well, who knows, with the old habits and old ideas. That might be true to an extent, but at least you will leave roads, bridges, transport infrastructures, and other means of facilities that could... Are you trying to catch some bus? What's going on, gents? Keep going, keep going. How are you? So, yeah. And we must never forget the terrible past that we left here. The future of this land, the entire continent, should be upgraded by this generation of outsiders, whoever come to do any work in this continent, and become a solution to this terrible situation that we have been left with, this entire continent. It is time that we work towards a solution and enhancing that solution for the people of the land. And instead of further deteriorating their possibility to exist here as human beings, just like you and I am. Not as an ethnicity, not as a color, not as a religious component, but as human beings to exist here. Fundamental rights for all on this planet should be significant and equal.